So then HTML5, we call that, you can use HTML5 for web apps or for hybrid applications. We refer to a hybrid application when you want to push an app to the store, but rather than using native technologies and writing the app, you use HTML5, JavaScript, CSS. You wrap it natively, and then you push the store. So there are frameworks like Accelerator, PhoneGap that are used for that. Or you can create your custom wrapper. If you don't understand a term, just ask me and I'll explain. So that custom wrapper or PhoneGap is used for that. What happens there is you're not maximizing the capabilities of the platform, and typically those are used not for entertainment or gaming products, but for more enterprise or productivity apps. That's typically, and I have a slide at the end that shows those additional frameworks, but they're primarily used for productivity apps. And if you are an important company, then maybe you don't use PhoneGap, but you might use your own custom wrapper and approach it that way. For example, we've done apps for internet companies, Salesforce.com. And in Salesforce, the concept that they have is we're a web company. And so the majority of their assets and the products that they want to create are HTML, CSS, JavaScript, kind of front-end products. So when we created the Dreamforce application for the conference, we went hybrid on that one. And that's the route that they wanted to take. And we used a PhoneGap instance, which is called the Salesforce Mobile SDK.
Would HTML5 be considered if you're going beyond just phone?
Yes, if you have a cross-platform approach where you want a web product, you want a phone product, you can use your HTML5 JavaScript content, wrap it natively, and then push it to the stores on the one front, and then have the web product on a desktop or tablet. Now, the experience that you end up having is kind of a web experience.
Yeah.
You're not maximizing the features of the phone. Yeah, that's the thing. So then we talked about instances where if you have, let's say you have a game written, there are chances that the game has been written in C++. So you could use Marmalade to take that C++ code and port it quickly to other platforms. If you have it in C#, you could use the Mono framework. Let's say you're starting from scratch. I talked about that. Unity can be a good choice, just to be going, because you have a huge support. Marmalade could also be if your folks are comfortable with C++. And then finally, Corona is also a good alternative. And I mentioned if there's more of an Android approach to it, then Corona might be suitable. Are you planning on sharing this with folks?
We can.
Okay. If people want it, then we'll get it to you. Also, indie development, meaning I'm running on low budget, let's create something out there. Cocos 2D X free. You can write it on Cocos 2D X, publish it to all the different platforms. You don't have to pay anything to anyone. Game Maker is the one I mentioned at the end that is simple to use and also supports kind of a limited number of platforms, and it's also on the cheaper side. I think I have, so this is just a summary table of the ones we discussed, primarily for entertainment and gaming. What I have here, I took some snapshots of tables that I found for other cross-development platforms. So for example, does this have a pointer?
Yeah, there's sufficient center.
So, Adobe PhoneGap. So Adobe bought Nextive, which does the PhoneGap. They started in 08, so this is one, it's well known, it's been around, and it wraps the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for web apps and hybrid apps. So this is a good alternative for enterprise or productivity applications. Accelerator is also another well-known platform. What the downside of Accelerator relative to PhoneGap is that here you have an IDE. So you are developing within the Accelerator platform. In order to build a new binary, you need the latest version. So let's say Apple comes out with iOS 7. You need to wait until Accelerator sends you the latest IDE for you to be able to link to the new APIs and push out an iOS 7 app. In the case of PhoneGap, you just plug in connectors, and you find the connectors all over the place. As soon as a new OS is announced, a week later you have all the connectors. So there's no lag, and you're not dependent on the company. In the case of Accelerator, you are dependent on the company to put out the IDE. So large projects that are multi-million in budget typically do not want to use Accelerator because they don't want to rely on that one company. Large multi-million projects are comfortable using PhoneGap because it's backed by Adobe to start off, and secondarily, they can create their own JavaScript to native connectors if they don't find them in the market. Another one to mention is Sencha Touch. Have you heard of Sencha? So Sencha is more of a JavaScript web. It started as a web platform, and now you can do hybrid apps, so you can embed it into a wrapper environment. And what it allows is for responsive design. So again, more enterprise, more productivity type applications. Let's say you create an app and you want to embed all of the animations and the responsive design. You probably should use this Sencha framework embedded. It has a cost, and that solves all of the transitions and animations for that app. We mentioned Xamarin, which is primarily for that mono approach, which is based on Microsoft technologies. And I think those are the ones worth mentioning out of different platforms compared to that gaming side. That same list, these are the supported platforms. Most of them support, as you see, Android and iOS. All of them, Android and iOS, which are the top that we care primarily about. And then if there are secondary platforms, you need to see if they support them. For example, Windows Phone. Well, some support it, some don't. Look at this chart. It's simple to see which ones are the most important. So for example, PhoneGap. Although we don't care about Symbian, PhoneGap does support the majority. As well as, this is no longer used. And I wanted to find Titanium here. It only supports iOS, Android, and now I think they're considering Windows Phone, but it does support. So then, PhoneGap tends to be the standard for non-gaming and enterprise and cross-platform development tools. When I also looked up in this same report, the company that published this report is Vision Mobile. They also did a survey, and for some reason, the one that yielded the most satisfaction was monotouch.net technologies. I thought that was interesting. 547, kind of the overall score, most well. I would still recommend the PhoneGap alternative.
We just recently run a project in Xamarin.
You run a project in Xamarin?
Yeah, we're really happy with it. That's not a gaming project. That had to be a business utility application. And out of all the technologies, we decided to go with Xamarin to deploy on all platforms.
And you're writing in C#?
Yeah.
Yes. So your team is already proficient on?
No, that had to be the first project in Xamarin for the team. But the developer said that he's fine with it. He'll take it up.
And do you remember what other platforms you considered?
No, I think they decided to go with Xamarin as soon as they heard that it had to be multi-platform. they just made some research. I'm not aware what else they
Yeah.
consider.
Yeah, people speak highly of Xamarin. And it also has this plugin for the mono game. So you could use the mono game plus connected with Xamarin and then yield modes on. Right. Well, so thank you. I wanted to share stuff more on the entertainment and gaming side, but happy to answer any questions or chat later with whomever is interested.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
So we'll have access to this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeff, has your own.
We'll have the video up in about 2 weeks, and then we can send out the slides to anybody who's interested. Just email Gordon at YetiZen.com.
I can give you my card and I'll.
Info at YetiZen.com.
What is Gaming Startup TV?
Gaming Startup TV, that's yours.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's your stuff. You just showed it on your
YouTube.
slide. Gaming Startup TV.
Oh,
that's a YouTube
there's a partner channel that's going to be publishing all of the video content. We have a backlog of 3 years of video content from 100 plus events a year. So they're going to start publishing all that old content. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So where are these?
There'll be like a monthly fee, subscription fee that'll give you access to 3 years of video.
Come on.
pretty cheap.
Come on.
That's their business model.
Push them.
We're just
ask
giving
for
them
advertising.
the.
You're locking your invaluable content behind a paywall. That's not the way to go.
We give our videos out for free that are updated and current, but if you want access to the backlog, it'll be available through Startup TV.
I see, but
So
we're all pro for free monetization models for the end consumers.
I think we provide quite a bit for free. Office space,
But what about all the people in the
Video
war?
content.
They can't like be in person and enjoy the hospitality.
Well, they can, if they're semi-recent, even within the last year, if there's video content of almost all of those within at least the last year up online. But if you want content even older than that, we're not continuing to host it. So you can have access to it from there.
Okay. Good try.
Developers.
If you want to pay for the funding for it, be my guest.
Okay.
But, I just provide enough support for free for the community as it is. Any other questions for Andrew?
So, yeah, I remember a while back, I was working for a consulting company. We were doing like kind of mobile-oriented work as well. And we looked at Xamarin and like it was pretty nice for some things, but there was a lot of gaps in the UI, like capabilities, and it just didn't really look native, and it was always kind of a pain dealing with like threading and things like that.
That's a thing.
Do you feel like that's kind of narrowing, or do you feel like it's kind of getting better, or do you feel like it's kind of...
So you have two alternatives. Xamarin, I don't know much about. I haven't been using it. PhoneGap versus Accelerator would be the two extremes. PhoneGap, you end up having more of a web UI. You see more web components. Accelerator, you're using the native form controls. So when you see an Accelerator app, you can't tell if it was done in HTML or natively because you see the native UI. So you're masking the code. Now, but you depend on the IDE being published by Accelerator. And so that is a business decision that you need to make to see if you are ready to show your UI more of a web type approach and you're fine with that performance and that usability, or if you want to mask it and show native. Depending on that outcome of that business decision, you can decide on which tool to use. PhoneGap is open source, and so you can create your own connectors, which gives you the ultimate flexibility to, let's say there's a new API on iOS 7, and you don't have a JavaScript to Objective-C connector. You spend half a day, you do some research, you bring it from a different developer, or you just code it, and you have the connector, and you can use that API. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. That would be the ultimate flexibility in that category. Yeah?
So yeah, I mean, I work for today, and we are a very small company yet, so I understand that we're not into this. But we provide HTML5 gaming services.
Okay.
One of them is that we don't use the web view for rendering your game, so we still execute your JavaScript, but we render everything with OpenGL ES, so we don't use the web view for the rendering. We also support WebGL, but it's something that
Great.
So yeah, I mean it's another alternative to
And what-
PhoneGap in the
How
gaming
many developers are currently on the platform?
6,000.
6,000?
Yeah.
What is the name of the company?
Lude.
Ludai.
Ah,
Ludai.
I'm from Spain, so
Okay,
you're from Argentina.
from Argentina.
Okay.
Okay.
My wife is from Argentina.
Hablas
All
español.
right. Well, we can chat
Lo
later.
hablamos en español. Sí.
Yeah, we can chat later and you tell me more about
Okay,
the,
yeah, sure.
so that I can include it in
Yeah, great.
the presentation.
No, but I understand that it wasn't there because it's still small, but yeah, we're going to try.
Oh, but I'm fond of improving materials and knowing more. So tell me more about the company. We'll include it and
I showed you some demos and.
excellent.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions? All right, thanks again. Andy,
Yeah,
for your time.
thank you.
And feel free to stick around and chat.
Yeah, so Monday live in the sound, the faster. You want to relax or?
Yeah.
But if you're a larger oh yeah. Sorry. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So we can have, I think we've had,
One of the headphones is
how
going
many
out.
people would you think? What if we blast a game developer?
Yeah, actually.
I've got quite a few more at the end. Who knows?
You need to check, they need to restyle that thing.
I'm actually working in analytics. So we do,
Oh, well,
we do in-game marketing for
it's totally,
game developers.
well,
And
do it if you
have players that are
yeah, well,
but it's mostly it starts on kind of for developers for the players who are
it's this, white device
player different but
basically
figuring out whether or not
the network
whether or not they're going to
here it is.
and so we can add to our game
But we have extra round tables
get it actual monetized
together.
Yeah, a lot of people in the space, so we're pretty focused on retail.